Rates are dropping and most homeowners aren't going to be able to benefit from it. Now, this isn't because rates don't help, but it's because these homeowners don't have a plan. Hi, I'm Adam Marshall. Welcome to Ask the Marshall, your weekly real estate podcast and video here, bring you real estate answers and real answers with no fluff. So welcome and thank you so much for joining. Today's market presents a really interesting, excellent opportunity for a lot of homeowners. And that is, as the rates start to go ahead and come down, there is a window of opportunity where homeowners can get in. And if they're looking to move up, it's an awesome opportunity to buy and to sell. And I'm going to just explain that here today. So I've got lots of people asking me, should I wait? Should I wait to go ahead and buy? Should I wait to sell? And I keep asking people to please just stop looking at the news, stop watching the headlines, because they're always designed for fear. They're always designed for you to click on them. And the real information changes from region to region, city to city. And this is the information that you need to get. And it also changes for sector to sector. So the condo market's much different than the detached market, etc. So these media headlines, if you just turn off the bad news, will help you greatly. Now, and I know that waiting always feels safe for a lot of people, and they'll wait until they see the signals and see the signs, and then they get ready and they jump on board. But this often costs the homeowner more because they typically jump on too late and they've missed the greatest opportunity and the greatest boost in the market. So once again, what I do is I help Brantford Brant County, Norfolk homeowners to move up safely, to go ahead and purchase their next home or the home of their dreams, and to go ahead and to exit the house that they're in and maximize their purchase price and maximize the sale price when they go ahead and sell. And this is especially important for people that already feel stuck, because there's a great opportunity here for them to make sure that they can go ahead and get into that next house and use the rates and use this market to their advantage. So, and this show and this whole topic is about clarity. It's not about hype. It's about being able to see through the headlines, see through the information that's there, and recognizing the opportunities that you have. So today's show, what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about what rate drops will mean for you as a homeowner and what actually changes about that, why this is a short window of opportunity for most homeowners, and how a lot of move-up home buyers can actually win twice in this market, just as I've explained. And as I go in depth, hopefully I'll bring some clarity to this whole subject and this whole idea for you. If you want to personalized plan for your home and your move-up plan, just DM me with plan, and I'd love to go ahead and get that over to you, and love to go ahead and explain to you the process and how we're going to do that and the strategy we're going to implement to make sure we get you onto the next home with the greatest amount of advantage that you have. So let's talk about what some of these rate drops actually mean in actual form and function in your life. So let's talk about interest rates. So let's say if you have an interest rate, and I'm just consulting my notes here, but for the average homeowner with a $600,000 mortgage, maybe you have that now, maybe you are in a house now and you're looking to move up to that mortgage. And I use that number because the average sale price in Brantford Brant County, Norfolk area is around $600,000. Okay. So the payment for that mortgage at a rate of about 5%, the payment on that is approximately, over 25-year amortization, $3,489.63. Okay. When that rate comes down and goes to 4.5%, that payment changes to $3,220.84. So bit of a savings there, comes down pretty good. And then when you drop down to about 4%, which is where a lot of mortgages are right now, give or take a quarter of a percentage point, your payment goes down to $3,156.12. So that's a pretty good savings. Now, if you go from 5% down to 4%, which is pretty realistic for most homeowners, especially if you're in your house now, maybe you have a 5% rate, maybe a 6% rate, you'll probably move up to your next mortgage and get down to around the 4% mark on either side of that. as long as you meet other criteria, of course. But with my example here, the difference in the payment from the 5% rate down on the 4% rate, there's a difference in the savings of $333.51 per month. Okay, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that you can implement and that you can get into something else, either debt reduction or a lot of other things, which I'll explain in a minute. Now, and a lot of viewers will say, "Hey, like, and understand that's not a small amount. That's a good amount of money for the average family and for the average home buyer every month to deploy that money into something of their choosing. That's a lot of money. So that monthly savings of $333.51 works out to be about $4,002.12 per year. Okay, so about four grand a year savings for for this example. Now, over 5 years, that's $20,000 that you're going to save. That's $20,000 that you're going to save and put back in your pocket, put back into, another debt or another investment, or into perhaps your family's quality of life. And that impacts your lifestyle. That isn't just a number on a piece of paper. That impacts your lifestyle and likely your future down the road, your family's future down the road. Now, I mean, that could be, extra money goes towards daycare, extra money that goes towards groceries. We know how expensive things are now, especially when you have a family. I've got 4 kids of my own. The grocery bill is not cheap. So that money can go into an RESP for the kids, can go into your RRSP or your retirement savings plans. That can go towards travel. $300 a month can be that family vacation that you look for once a year, or maybe even some excursions throughout the month. They add up quite a bit. Of course, that could also be money that goes towards your renovations in your house. Maybe you've been putting a lot of things off because you just don't have the capacity, the extra money to invest in the house. An extra $4,000 spent on a house a year, that could really renovate 1 room, 2 rooms, 3 rooms sometimes dramatically, and give make it look much better, but also enhance the value of your home. Okay, great way to do that. And oftentimes banks will lend more money when rates drop because the criteria for people to qualify is lower. And so that's the advantage that you also want to keep in mind too, is that as you go ahead and you want to move up, it could be easier. It's likely for a lot of people will be easier for you to qualify for the higher payment because the rate is lower and you may be making the same amount of money, but now you're able to qualify for that amount. And then, obviously, not across the board, but in most cases, if you move up in house and in terms of price, you'll get a better quality house. Either better quality, it could be newer, it could be that rural property that you're looking for, it could be the property that has all the amenities that you've been waiting for and wanting. And this is where you want to move up the real estate chain. Okay, now. And here's the flow, and here's what happens, and this is what I'm seeing in the market right now, is that rates come along and the rates drop first. So the interest rates drop first, and then as that comes along, so if I chart that out, the rates are here, the rates start to drop, okay, then prices will start to return later on. Right now we're in this trough, as I'm seeing, and I'm experiencing this every day, helping home buyers and homeowners with their real estate. As the rates drop, the prices are a lagging effect. So the prices are still stagnant in some areas, some regions, meaning condos or properties that need lots of work. The prices are still kind of dropping a little bit, and that catches up because when the home buyers enter in and the prices start to return, this is the window that I'm talking about. So the rates have come down, the prices are still low. This is the opportunity. And then what happens when we hit the kind of the bottom of the cycle, when we hit that demand curve, that's when competition and the demand increases, your competition kicks in, and then prices follow later on. So right now, as it comes down, the rates are coming down to increase and to spur on the growth and to spur on the purchases. The house prices haven't reacted and we haven't experienced that increase yet. Now, of course, what's that window look like? Well, it oftentimes can be very narrow, especially if rates drop rapidly. That window can be very narrow, and all of a sudden the prices catch up, and we're off to the races again. So this is where I'm talking about this window where we want to pay attention to, and looking at this market on a macro level. Now, let's do a little bit of a deep dive into this. Okay. Now, this is what I like to call my double win strategy for the move up buyer. Okay. Um, the win number one is you want to buy in a calmer market. And that's basically what we're experiencing now. And this is what I talk about on a regular basis in terms of what the activity is in the market. When you get rid of these bad headlines, you get rid of the bad news, and you separate yourself and just look at the data and the facts, we're in a nice balanced market. And this is the opportunity that homeowners have and buyers have. So right now in a calmer market, what we're seeing is we're seeing more listings, more listings in the marketplace. We're seeing fewer bidding wars that are occurring. Okay, we're just a matter of a couple of years ago, there were plenty of bidding wars on everything, as we know, if you're a buyer in the market or a seller in the market. Right now, sellers are way more flexible. Motivated sellers are looking and interested in someone who wants to have a conversation, i.e., make an offer. Okay, they're interested in trying to find a buyer at any price and at least see where the attention or the interest may be. And so with the sellers being more flexible, that may mean you get better terms, you may get a better closing date, you may get more things included with the house than you normally would. And of course, the next thing is that you can include conditions. You can make offers that are conditional upon financing and inspection, conditional upon you having to sell your house perhaps. All these options open up again for you, where the seller is more interested in having that conversation and entertaining any conditions that may be in there. So now, in this market, once again, we're seeing in a balanced market, average days on market currently is around 90 days as we film this video. And so once again, buyers can come in and negotiate price and closing dates, and of course conditions, like I said. And I'm experiencing this every day. We just put an agreement together the other day where it is the seller that needs to sell their house, and beforehand that the house that they're looking to buy, it is in a very active area, and that seller normally would not have accepted that condition. But we have a good house, a good backup property, and that seller was open to that because of the quality, and their house has actually been on the market for 45 days. It's a great location, it's a great house, but they're more willing to have the conversation with the buyer and accept these terms and conditions in hopes of getting the house sold. So this is the advantage. And of course, properties that need some work, properties that need work in a slow market typically take much longer to sell. Buyers are much more sensitive to renovations or any type of work. And that's, generally speaking, in today's times, a lot of home buyers don't have the extra money to renovate. They don't have the extra time because they're working all the time just trying to get the bills paid. And so if your house needs work, it will sit. It will take a long time unless you underprice it or have a different strategy to get it sold. But that's where we want to be open as buyers and sellers to have these conversations, and buyers to just to make offers, because you never know what a seller's thinking and how motivated they are. But these houses that need work have the opportunity to be sold to a qualified buyer in a reasonable amount of time. Okay. And this is the advantage in this market. So win number two on to here is selling in the same market, selling in a balanced market. Now, this can be a challenge for a lot of homes for those same reasons I just spoke about. Houses that need work, houses that may not be in the ideal or premium locations. And when the market softens, it's not that your house won't sell, it's just that it takes longer. You have to wait for the right buyer to come along. And right now, one thing that I'm dealing with on a regular basis is condominiums. If you own a condominium or you're looking to sell a condominium, they're taking much longer to sell because home buyers are much more sensitive to those condo fees that are attached to the condominium. They're scrutinizing what they're getting, what they're paying for, and what kind of value they're getting with that condo fee. And this is what's important to buyers. So as we've seen this market change, the bad headlines you see all the time, people are calling for a big real estate crash, and they're calling for bad stuff to happen. Well, I would say my crystal ball is broken, perhaps, but what I'm experiencing is I think that we've seen the most of the adjustment that we're going to get. Speaking of the market on a whole, and I'm speaking about the Brantford market as I'm experiencing in Brantford, Norfolk, Brant County, as I'm experiencing that and living that every day. I think that we're at the lows, and we're the bottom of what we're experiencing in terms of price and expecting for price. So, I mean, this certainly isn't a crash, but prices are down, say 30% from the height of COVID. That is obvious, and that's something we see. So I view it as things are on sale. Real estate is on sale. You've been waiting for them to go on sale. This is your opportunity. But because of all the fear that's in the market and the fear that perhaps your friends and family are feeding you, you become paralyzed by the information and you don't want to take the jump. But analyzing and having a good look and see what's out there, this is the opportunity. Okay, so obviously this isn't a crash, and well-priced homes are still selling. We see that. That's a normal everyday occurrence. And bad strategy is what's causing a lot of listings just to sit and not sell, in my opinion. When the strategy doesn't match, the pricing doesn't match, the condition doesn't match, the real estate advice doesn't match, then that's where there's a disconnect and the properties just aren't selling. It's not happening. And it's the interpretation of the information that's happening in the marketplace on a daily basis that you have to constantly reflect back to yourself, being a homeowner or being a buyer. You have to look at that information and say, is this a good deal? Is this what buyers are looking to buy? Is this what I'm looking to buy as a buyer? Is this a good deal? Okay. And that's just something that is a constant moving target, and there's no clear answer for a buyer because every buyer is different. But for sellers, we have to take that data, and as the pricing has been moving down, we don't want to be behind the pricing curve. You got to be ahead of it to catch buyers as the price reaches that. Okay. And that's something I talk about with a lot of homeowners when we sit down and do pricing consultations to go ahead and nail down the right price to go ahead and make sure we get the property sold. Now, this balanced market, I also like to call it, this is a strategy market. Okay, this is our opportunity. This is a great opportunity where when things are balanced, we need to put together the strategy, and we need to make sure that we're prepared. And preparation matters much more than timing. And I keep hammering about staging and making a house look good. And the basics of that is you have to have a clean house. Can't stress that enough, because I'm going through a lot of homes that need work, a lot of homes that really aren't bad homes aesthetically, except they're not clean. They're not tip-top shape. People and homeowners, some homeowners aren't treating their house like a showroom, like a model home. And I get this because when you're living there, it's difficult. When you have kids, it's difficult. When you have pets, it's really difficult. But this is the expectation you have to understand is there. And this is the expectation that buyers have when they come to your house. They're not expecting to come see a house that's really lived in, a house that's worn, a house that they didn't make the beds, and a house that they didn't vacuum. Because every house that they come to look at, they want that new car experience. They want to be able to get in and smell the leather. They want to be able to get in and smell the new carpeting and those fresh smells. They don't want to smell the dog. They don't want to smell these other things. So, and if they do, guess what? Sellers, you're going to pay. You're going to pay dearly, because buyers are very picky, very, very choosy. And if they make an offer, doesn't mean they will. If they make an offer, it's not going to be a high one in most cases. And that's where the staging is worth more than its weight in gold. And that's where I cannot stress that enough. I cannot stress that enough. So one of the biggest fears that a lot of homeowners have when they're going to search and buy a house is they'll ask, what if I buy a house and my house doesn't sell? What do I do? It's stressful. It's a time to worry. It's a big problem. And it's totally valid, totally valid. When you own a home and you need to get something going, so you need to make an offer on a house and you haven't sold yours yet, your offer is conditional upon you selling your house. What if it doesn't sell? You don't want to lose that house, and you don't want to have to go through all the grind of selling and nothing ever happened. Okay. And this is where people freeze. People just panic, and they don't necessarily panic and freak out and have breakdowns, but they freeze and they become paralyzed by the market, and they become paralyzed by making these decisions. And they're paralyzed by taking the jump and making something happen. Okay. Now, there are very, very safe ways to do this. They're very safe ways to do this. And this is something that you should never, ever guess at. This is something that needs a strategy and careful planning. And options always depend on your equity, they depend on your timing, and they depend on your comfort level. They depend on what you're comfortable with. I often say to my home buyers and home sellers, like, I do this job every single day. So I can look at a situation and usually give my answer and what I would do pretty rapidly, just because I'm dealing with many different situations, and I can, have a lot of clarity around the issue, obviously, so I can make much quicker decisions. But if you haven't moved for 5, 10 years, if you haven't bought or sold a house in that long or longer, there's a lot of decisions, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's stressful. It's quite stressful. So this is where you need to do it to your comfort level, and you need to have a plan, and you need to go ahead and strategize with everything. Now, there's lots of options. You've got bridge financing that you can use. I've talked about that in past podcasts. You've got bridge financing you can use by using the bank's money. You can access your own equity in the home you're living in, or maybe another property, with using lines of credit where you can just write checks and buy the next house, or put a large down payment down, whatever that exact strategy may be. Those work great. And then, of course, once again, something that I use a lot with homeowners is I use my guaranteed sale strategy. And that's my guarantee where your house will be sold, or I'll go ahead and I'll buy it myself. And that's where I'll make you an offer on your house to go ahead and to give you that confidence and to give you a firm offer you can take to your bank so you can go buy the next house cash. And, I remind people, in this market, if you can walk into the house that you want to buy and you can make a cash offer with little to no conditions, I assure you, in most cases, you can save yourself a lot of money. You can save yourself a lot of money buying that way. And that's another great advantage. And that's why my program works so great. And of course, this removes the panic. Okay, this removes the panic from the situation. This creates the certainty that you're looking for, the certainty of knowing when you're going to be able to move in. We set a closing date. We know everything's pre-planned, and we're set up for that. And once again, it allows for confident offers. You can go in and buy the house that you want to buy, be aggressive with it, know that you can buy it with confidence, with no stress, no sleepless nights, and we can get moved on and go from there. Okay, this is the power of that. This is the power of that, and that's where with my guaranteed sale program, I'm helping many homeowners move on and to go ahead and give them the confidence to make the offers and get on to the next phase, onto the next place that they want to live. So it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Now, I hope I have answered a lot of questions that you may have had, and maybe generated some more. So any questions that you have, please go ahead and just put your questions in the comments box below, and I'd love to get to them. Hopefully, I'd love to answer all of them for you. And if I don't get to it here, I'll send you a personal message and make sure I get to it. So add any question. And of course, if you would like your personalized plan to go ahead and get your house sold and take advantage of this market, just DM me with plan, and I'll be sure to get that out to you. And also I'll have specific instructions and to bring some clarity to that about my guaranteed sale program, about, your house will be sold guaranteed, or I'll go ahead and I'll buy it myself. Okay. Post your questions and they'll get to some answers here below. So now let's jump to the question time frame here. I've got some questions that have been sent to me, so I'd like to get to that and clear some of these up. So some buyers have sent me some messages that said, should I wait for even lower rates? Well, historically, the rates that are here now, historically are some of the lowest rates that we'll ever see, that have ever seen. Okay. Obviously, except for COVID, when the rates were really, really low, I don't think we're going to see those again. I would be hard pressed to even think they're ever going to come back. But right now, the rates that I'm seeing right now are great rates, anywhere around that 4% rate over for a 5-year term. Pretty great. Anyone who's been in the market for a long time, they will know that those rates are great. So I wouldn't wait. I think that use that to your advantage. And most or a lot of home buyers right now are in a higher price interest rate range. So this will afford you the opportunity to move down and to adjust that and get into the lower rate. Next question comes in is, how much equity do I need to move up? Well, that really depends. Depends on you, depends on your income situation, depends on of course, your employment. It's going to depend on your credit rating or your credit score that is out there. The banks factor a lot of this in, and it's of course also going to include sometimes in a lot of cases your net worth. What you have saved, what you have invested. That's going to come into to the picture for some banks. So how much equity do you need to move up? Generally speaking, I can get a homeowner into their next house for about 10% down, depending on price. Okay, if you're in a lower price range, probably 5% down. Believe it or not, only have to have 5% down to buy a house. For a lot of home buyers, if you're over $500,000, we're going to need more money down. Plan on 10%. If you get over 750, then we're going to be talking probably 20% down is what you're going to have to plan for. And I think maybe that question even comes from someone that you're in a house and maybe your mortgage is already high, but you want to get moved on. Maybe your mortgage is high and your rate is high. And I've done this quite a bit lately, is maybe we're making a bit of a lateral move to a different locale, a different type of property, and your mortgage is more or less going to stay the same. But when you move, you can rewrite the mortgage and bring the rate down. So your mortgage amount doesn't change, but your payment does, and you get the house that you want. So it's a great strategy that we've been working with, and some of my great lenders. Just a quick shout out to some of my great lenders that I work with. They're able to do this for a lot of people, and we're able to make this happen and put together a strategy to get you into that next house. Mortgage is about the same, payment comes down, but you get the house that you want. So it's a pretty awesome opportunity there too. Once again, someone asks, can I buy with a condition on selling? Yeah, I'm seeing that happen a lot. That is an option. And lots of homeowners are willing to accept that condition just in hopes of getting their house sold. They'll wait around for you for a month or two to get your house sold, as long as your house is priced properly, so that they can get their house sold. That certainly is happening. And ideally, once again, when I implement my guaranteed sale program, if we can remove that condition on selling, that's ideal, because then you can go buy that house cash, no conditions or little conditions. And you can save yourself a lot of money, because generally speaking, that homeowner that's been on the market perhaps for 30, 60, 90 days, 120 days, they want to sell. And if they get a cash offer with no conditions, you're likely to buy that for the lowest price that they're able to sell it for. If they can get it moved on, they can get on with their plans. That's the strategy. That's important. Of course, what happens if my home doesn't sell right away? Well, generally, if you have that condition on the house you're buying, if your house doesn't sell right away, then we're waiting, and then we have to go back and beg and ask for more time to get your house sold. And that's that home seller that you're buying their house, they may not grant that to you. They may say, no, I don't want to wait anymore because your house isn't selling, and I'm not sure that will. I'll wait for another buyer to come along. I don't want to extend that. Okay, so this puts you in a sticky situation. So if we have some sort of certainty and some sort of guaranteed sale on yours, it really makes it simple, and you have a closing date. You're going to move in in a certain time frame. Famous question that I get a lot around this time of year, around the winter time, around Christmas time, is a lot of people say, when's better to sell? Is it better to wait till the spring to sell? Is it better to sell now? Well, yes and no. Yes, lots of people wait until the spring to sell their house. That's true. Now, the problem with that is that lots of people are waiting until the spring to go ahead and get their house sold. So right now we have less competition, and we have motivated buyers that are searching. So this is the opportunity in this market around this time of year that anyone who needs to move is buying. And there's less for them to look at, and there's less buyers looking. That's the advantage as a buyer. As a seller, you want to sell in those same conditions. Less competition, right? You want to buy in a time where there's less competition with other buyers, and that a lot of those sellers are probably more motivated because they're getting less showings. That's when you want to buy. And then when you want to sell, you know that those buyers that are coming through are probably highly motivated, okay? And there's less properties coming on the market that will be your competition. So it's competition on both sides of that street, and you want to use that to your advantage. So I tell people, in my opinion, right now is a great time to go ahead and sell. And most of the properties I personally have bought, and I'm a real estate investor, most of the properties that I've purchased have been in the fall and in the winter. That's when I bought most of my properties, just not purposely, just that's how it's happened. And I think that's probably why I've maybe got some of the deals that I've gotten, is because I could buy it and there's less competition. There's less buyers looking, less investors looking, and I can scoop it up and I can buy it and move on. So I think now is a great time. Really is a great time. Okay. Any other questions, please just comment below. Just drop your question in the comment section here. I'd love to get to it. And if I don't get to it today, I'll get to it next time. I'll add it to my list, just like I have some of these other ones, and we'll make sure that we get that. You can also text me directly at 226-400-7322. I'd love to go ahead and get those questions from you and or answer them in person if you wish. Okay. So right now, look, I'd love to go ahead and talk to you about something that's nearest and dearest to my heart, especially this time of year is super important. And that is the Brantford Blessing Center. And that is an organization here in Brantford. They're doing amazing work. They are a local organization that focuses on feeding people. And the sad reality is right now, economically, a lot of people are struggling. And a lot of people, not just people on the street, but people in general, a lot of people are having a hard time feeding themselves and their family. So the center is seeing an influx of people coming in. On average right now, they're serving about 150 meals per day here in the city of Brantford, trying to get people fed. So it's an amazing opportunity. If you're looking to volunteer to a great organization, if you're looking to contribute in terms of donations, monetarily or with food, they're always open. If you're a business looking to donate, they're always open. They're looking for more donations. And there's a great need out there, and they really, really need your help. So I'd like for you to go ahead and reach out to them. If you'd like some more details, comment on that too, and I can send you some direct information on them and let you know how to contact them directly. So it is an awesome opportunity. Okay. Now, listen, I just want to say thank you so much. This is a great opportunity for buyers to buy, for homeowners to move, and this could be your opportunity that you've been waiting for. Now, rates are dropping. Rates are just held steady. I expect they're going to drop again in the near future. And when we look at this, the math matters more than the headlines. So cut out all the fear, cut out all the other stuff. Really look at the market objectively. Determine for yourself what you think is an opportunity and where you think the market is. And I'd love to share with you some data and some stats that I'm working with. And of course, the math matters more than the headlines. This can make a lot of sense for where you're at in terms of a mortgage to get you into that property that you're looking for. And I believe this is a short window. I don't think this is going to be a long drawn out window. I think because once buyers become motivated, they realize the rates are great and more buyers enter the marketplace, there's going to be more pressure on those houses that are there. And I think we're going to see prices start to increase. My crystal ball is broken, but I'll tell you that's coming soon, and it's coming in the next 6 months, 8 months, year. It's going to be happening pretty rapidly, and that's what I want you to be prepared for. This is what I want my clients, all my customers to be really prepared for. Okay, and this is where move-up buyers can win twice. Okay, we can go ahead and buy right, save a lot of money, and we can go ahead and get your house sold and get every penny for it and get it sold in a reasonable amount of time, and you can win on both ends. Okay. And the whole goal is that when we sit down and we discuss your strategy and we discuss your plan, this is when fear disappears. When we have a plan and concrete idea and concrete strategy of where we're going, then you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to go ahead and be concerned or have those sleepless nights. We've got a plan, we've got a strategy, and we're going to be moving forward with it. And once again, you don't need to rush. You don't have to rush to buy or rush to sell. We can do it smartly and do it intelligently. And what it does is it will bring clarity to the situation so you know where we're going. Okay. And as we plan, the planning gives you early control. So if you're thinking about moving, reach out to me, DM me plan. I'd love to reach out and I'd love to give you your specific strategy, your specific plan in terms of where you're at and what to do to get you moved on the next window of your life, next chapter. Okay. So if you're thinking about moving in, even if you're thinking about longer term, even the next 6 to 18 months, whatever it may be, just let me know, because just DM me plan below. And then this is where we have to start planning now. You may need work done to your house. You may need renovations. You may need to prepare financially for us to get you approved to that certain level. There's a strategy in that I'll be talking about in the coming episodes, where we need to get you prepared to make sure that you can go ahead and actually purchase at the level you need to. And I'll go ahead and I'll map this out personally for you. I'll map this out. We'll know where you're at, and I'll get you in touch with the right people to make sure this goes smoothly. And of course, as always, just kind of how I operate. There's no pressure with this. Okay, when we're dealing with major life circumstances, we don't want to rush. We don't want to have pressure. Okay, I just want to bring clarity to the issue. Want to bring clarity to the topic, and get that strategy, get that plan put together. Okay. Once again, I want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for your time. Please check out the next episode, and replay, ask questions, drop any questions below. You can always text me, text me directly. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to connecting, and I wish you all the best. We'll talk soon. Thank you so much for watching Ask the Marshal Live, my weekly live stream where I answer your questions and give you the real truths and the actual facts of what's happening here in the Brantford, Brant County, and Norfolk area markets. So please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk soon.